scientific death.
On October 24, 1960, at 6:45 p.m., the Baikonur Cosmodrome became the site of the deadliest accident in the history of rocketry. Soviet military forces were accelerating the test schedule for their newest weapon, the R-16 Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. During the launch countdown, engineers detected a major fuel leak, followed shortly by an electrical short circuit. Standard protocol for this failure state is absolute. Teams must completely drain the highly volatile fuel tanks before any personnel approach the hardware. Instead of delaying the test to defuel, Field Marshal Mitrofan Nedelin issued a severe procedural override. He commanded dozens of technicians to perform live electrical repairs directly on the platforms, working beneath a fully pressurized missile. By prioritizing the military schedule over safety protocols, leadership created a zero-margin environment where any secondary error would be catastrophic. The trigger arrived at 6:45 p.m. A misplaced command signal was routed directly through the compromised active circuitry. This shows the R-16 internal configuration. That signal caused the inadvertent firing of the second-stage engine while the rocket was still locked to the pad. The engine exhaust blasted straight down. It instantly ruptured the first-stage bulkheads, violently forcing the fuel and oxidizer together. The result was an immediate apocalyptic fireball that engulfed over 100 technicians and military personnel on the gantry. Standard rockets rely on liquid oxygen and kerosene, which typically require an external spark or heat source to ignite a fireball during a tank rupture. The R-16 functioned differently because it was driven by hypergolic propellant combustion kinetics. In a hypergolic system, physical containment is the only thing preventing a spontaneous, runaway exothermic reaction. To understand why the explosion was so violent, we have to look past the structural breach and examine the molecular mixing of the chemicals. This diagram shows the compounds: unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine as fuel and red fuming nitric acid as oxidizer. Contact initiates a violent electron transfer. Hundreds of tons mixed in milliseconds, following a near-vertical reaction curve, as thermal output spiked past 3,000 degrees Celsius. In a fraction of a second, the reaction expanded into a wall of flame hundreds of meters wide. This violence occurred without any traditional spark, driven solely by the kinetics of the chemicals themselves. Understanding this extreme thermal generation is essential to analyzing the unique biological destruction that followed on the pad. The lethality of the event was multiphasic, operating across 3 concurrent biological vectors. For those closest to the primary blast, the first vector was instantaneous thermal pyrolysis. At 3,000 degrees, the heat causes immediate thermal lysis of cellular structures. The forensic evidence of this radius was absolute. Investigators found only fused metal artifacts, like belt buckles and watches. For those outside the immediate fireball, a second vector hit them: corrosive tissue liquefaction. Unburned red fuming nitric acid sprayed across the periphery, violently stripping water from living dermal tissue and triggering immediate hypovolemic shock. The third and final vector targeted the respiratory system. The combustion of the oxidizer releases dense, reddish-brown clouds of toxic nitrogen dioxide gas. When inhaled, this gas reacts with the moisture inside the lungs to synthesize nitric acid directly on the alveolar membranes. This strips the lining, causing the lungs to fill with fluid and leading to rapid asphyxiation. Hypergolic lethality is absolute. If the kinetic blast doesn't kill you, the inescapable chemical and respiratory destruction will. In the wake of the disaster, which claimed over 100 lives, the aerospace industry underwent a global engineering reckoning. The 1960 disaster proved that procedural safety, relying purely on human decision-making, cannot protect against the volatility of hypergolic systems. This led to the first major permanent rule change: the mandatory automated clear pad protocol. Once hypergolic fueling sequences begin, it is strictly illegal for any personnel to be on or near the launch pad. All operations must be commanded remotely from blast-proof underground bunkers. A second rule focused on the electronics: the physical separation of staging ignition circuits. As this diagram shows, second-stage ignition lines are now physically air-gapped from primary power grids by mechanical safety pins. These pins can only be unlocked at high altitude, following a successful first-stage separation. These design changes removed the possibility for a localized electrical short on the ground to trigger a catastrophic staging event. Finally, the industry established an absolute ban on performing live repair sequences on fully pressurized systems. Any electrical or mechanical pad maintenance now legally requires a complete, full-fuel defueling and system neutralization first. This rule directly outlaws the exact decision Field Marshal Nedelin made on that October evening. These three architectural rules form the backbone of modern aerospace safety, all born from the forensic data gathered at Baikonur. These hypergolic oxidation reduction reactions are fundamentally unforgiving. The 1960 R-16 explosion proved that with this chemistry, the margin for human error is zero. Safety cannot be requested. It must be architecturally enforced.
If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. And don't forget to comment below with your favorite emoji.